Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's meeting of the Assembly Committee on Growth and Infrastructure. Would the Secretary please call the roll?
Assembly members Bacchus,
Present.
Brown May,
Here.
Carter,
Present.
Dickman,
Here.
Gallant,
Here.
Gurr,
Here.
Karras,
Here.
Moore,
Here.
Wen,
Here.
Urick, Chair Watts.
And I am here. We have all members present. We have a quorum. Welcome to everyone joining us today in Carson City, as well as potentially Las Vegas. It's a pretty close-up shot right now. And anyone joining us online. Few housekeeping notes before we get into our agenda today. Please be sure to silence your electronic devices. If you plan to speak at today's meeting, please sign in at the table in the back. If you have a business card, please provide one for our staff. When testifying, we ask you to please state and spell your name for the record the first time you speak. Turn on the microphone before you start talking. Turn it off when you're done. And anytime you introduce yourself, please remember to say your name for the record. If you have any exhibits or testimony that you'd like to provide, please provide those to our committee staff 24 hours in advance of our meeting. If you have written remarks that exceed the length that you have to testify, you can submit those in writing to our staff up to 24 hours following the conclusion of our meeting. I think that concludes most of the housekeeping items. For anyone that wishes to provide testimony or public comment via phone today, please call 888-475-4499. When prompted, provide the meeting ID 873-3184-3340 and then press the pound sign. We will take public comment at the end of today's meeting. So we have two items on our agenda today, members, two bill hearings, and I plan to take them in order. So we will begin with Assembly Bill 61. So with that, I will open the hearing on AB 61, which authorizes the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County or any local government within Washoe County to establish a demonstration project for a certain toll road. And I believe we have representatives from the city of Sparks joining us, including the mayor. Welcome, Mayor Lawson and company. Please make yourselves comfortable. Whenever you're ready, you may proceed.
Ed Lawson for the record, ED LAWSON, Mayor Sparks. I want to just give you a few highlights about the Tri-Center and why this road is greatly needed. Number one, this road does not exist today. This is a new way to get out of the valleys to the 800-pound gorilla that is the Tri-Center, where currently is somewhere around 30,000 jobs in a county with 4,200 residents. So 80% of the people that work in the Tri-Center live with us in Reno and Sparks, and 80% of that 80% lives north of I-80. And on the drawing, you'll see that line along the river. This has created quite a demand on I-80. I-80 is the major shipping thoroughfare from the west coast to the east coast, with the Port of Oakland supplying many of those goods that drive right through our fair city and state. And then as far as employees, the employees getting back and forth, if there's an accident, a guardrail replacement, or anything on I-80, horses on the road, that one happened to me a couple days ago. The traffic stops and it backs up for 30 minutes to up to 5 hours if there's a bad accident. We had a mom and a daughter killed out there last spring as they were coming in. It's a unsafe road for the amount of traffic that's on it today. This toll road is just a tool What we've experienced in the north part of Nevada is we had a road that we call it the Southeast Connector Veterans Parkway. That road was approved alignment in the 1964. It didn't get built until the 2000s. So 50 years or 40 years of waiting around for a road to get built is not an option in our mind. We also understand the constraints of NDOT with approximately a $1.3 billion budget each year, with $300 million of it going to DMV and Highway Patrol, and the other billion going to roads. And 70% of that we know stays in southern Nevada because that's where the population is. That leaves us, for the rest of the state, roughly $300 million. So we're looking for options. We're looking for another way to put a tool in our toolbox to get down the road, so to speak. Let's see. Oh, and the toll road, we've had conversations, and you'll hear from some folks that the companies out there are willing to buy the fast passes for their employees so that they can get to and from work in a safer manner. It also shaves off about half their commute if you live in North Sparks or on southern part of Washoe County. It cuts the commute in half. So it actually, we did a study. If we get 10,000 cars a day on the road, we save 25 tons in emissions every single day. It's a big deal. We think that's a big selling point. The people who created the demand for this road are the people that are going to pay for it. Now, if there's another way to do it, much like that AB 61 in 2011, they came up with alternate financing. We will seek that financing also. But we're just looking at this as a tool for us to use, and it takes some pressure off of NDOT's budget for building roads. You might be surprised to know, in my research, I found that Nevada has had over 117 toll roads in its time. And most of them centered up here in northern Nevada, centered around the Comstock Lode. And I submit to you that our new Comstock Lode today is the tech industry that exists in Story County. They are the 800-pound gorilla. They could have, with the lithium loop, another 20,000 employees out there. We know that Tesla and Panasonic want to double the size of the Gigafactory, which would add even more employees. So we could see somewhere around 60,000 employees anywhere in the next 8 years with a single point of failure to get in and out of that area. If you work at Tesla or out there in the tech industry and you need daycare, you cannot get it in Reno and Sparks. They will not take you because they don't know when you're going to get home, just because the road could be anytime. It takes a snowstorm or horses in the road, literally the smallest thing, to back traffic up. So it's come down to a quality of life issue for those residents that live with us in Sparks and Reno, quality of life for them, in that they're missing kids' games, they're missing appointments they need to be at because there's some unnatural occurrence on I-80. Now, I think that's all I need to say. I'm not an eloquent speaker, pardon me for that, but I'm very passionate about this project, very passionate about taking care of our citizens, and I'm very passionate about the safety of our citizens going to and from work. You shouldn't have to take your life in your hands to go to work. Thank you.
Chair Watts, Michael Hillerby on behalf of the City of Sparks, if I may. We will go through section by section in a moment with Assistant City Manager McCormick. Before we do that, I just wanted to echo the mayor's comments at the beginning. A couple of things. This was based on the 2011 legislation on the Boulder City Bypass Toll Road Demonstration Project that was passed by the legislature. I copied that because we know it was something that could work, that for a couple of reasons didn't happen. Fuel revenue indexing was passed by the legislature for Southern Nevada in 2013. And also as a part of doing the evaluation, RTC, Southern Nevada, and the other partners that worked on that determined the finances didn't make sense. And part of what we're here for is we need to do all of that work, but we really don't feel like we can, in good conscience, do that with the partners, spend the money, be it private grants, other things that we might get, when it's not a project that we can legally do. So this would help us get to the starting point. And to reinforce something the mayor said, we're fully aware of the problems with the highway fund. This doesn't diminish those problems at all. It is just one potential solution for a very specific spot. We know it would not have been appropriate to come to you and this body and money committees to talk about, can we have highway funds, can we have general funds? We know we've got a need in Northern Nevada in our communities, and we've done a great deal to try to step up and take care of that. RTC Washoe has spent local fuel tax revenue in combination with NDOT on the Spaghetti Bowl Express project, on 395 widening, which remains a project that's ongoing and a significant traffic issue, as well as Pyramid Highway. So we've brought our own money to bear and worked really hard. This would enable the Northern Nevada community and our elected officials to, again, how do we do that as our community, but pay for that by the users of the road and keep that, again, in our communities, but we need to come here and talk about getting permission from you to make that happen. So with that, I'll stop. We'll kind of quickly go through the bill, not in detail section by section, but in clumps, and then be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Watts. Allison McCormick, for the record, I'm one of the assistant city managers at the City of Sparks. Section 1 of the bill enables registration renewal through the DMV as a toll enforcement mechanism, referencing NRS Chapter 484B. Section 2 provides a property tax exemption for toll-related property held by the public entity. In this case, that would either be Washoe County, the City of Sparks, or the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, or RTC. Section 3 limits AB 61's applicability to this project only. Only the connection between La Posada and USA Parkway. It does not allow for toll roads throughout Nevada, only for this singular project. Section 4 through Section 16 provide the definitions applicable to the Act. Primarily, I'd like to draw your attention to Section 13, which defines public-private partnership and allows a private entity in cooperation with the applicable public entity to plan, design, finance, build, and operate the project. Section 17 allows the RTC or one of the other local governments to take steps necessary to develop the project as a toll road. I want to be clear that this is enabling, as has been mentioned already. We don't know whether this project will pencil as a toll road or exclusively as a toll road, but we can't justify spending taxpayer dollars to go find out when it is not currently legal under Nevada law. Subsection 3 states that the project must remain publicly owned and open to the public. Section 4 establishes Pyramid Way and I-80 as toll-free alternatives to this route. Moving on to Section 18, that also touches on Pyramid Way and Interstate 80 remaining open to the public and non-tolled options. Sections 19 and 21 provide the process for reaching a public-private partnership agreement. And Section 20 lays out the eligibility requirements for the public partner. Section 22 limits the term of the public-private partnership, or PPP, to 40 years after the toll road opens. The project term could be shorter than that, but that is the upper limit. Section 23 lays out required contract provisions for the public-private partnership, including user fee revenue management, data protection, and fines for violations of those data protection provisions, performance measures, and damages for non-performance by the private partner, cost sharing, and law enforcement responsibilities. Section 24 lays out establishment of user fees and penalties for non-payment, describes exempt vehicles, and provides for confidentiality of the road user's information. Section 25 lays out fines for late payment of tolls or user fees, including a hold on registration renewal through the DMV as mentioned regarding Section 1. Section 26 states that all revenue from the project goes to the State Highway Fund and is restricted to building, operating, and maintaining either the project or other public highways within Washoe County. Section 27 lays out project financing revenue sources, including potentially revenue bonds secured by the toll revenues, gifts, grants, donations, federal funds, and use of taxes deposited in the highway fund. Section 28 states that the public partner, allows the public partner, so either Sparks, Washoe County, or RTC, how they may acquire property and use property in connection with the project. Section 29 exempts property associated with the project from property taxes. Section 30 lays out competitive bidding and prevailing wage requirements, as this is a public project, even if it is built as a public-private partnership. Section 31 lays out additional construction bid advertising requirements. Section 32 addresses utilities and encroachments on the property. Section 33 addresses interactions with other laws. And Section 34, last but not least, would make this effective upon passage and approval. Is there any closing comments you'd like to make, Mayor?
No, thank you.
That concludes our presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much, and we do have some questions. We will begin with Assemblymember Backus.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you, Mayor and team, for your presentation. My question kind of surrounds this situation where Section 1 and Section 25 meet. As I understand it and reading it, it looks like if this does, all hypothetical, I know it may not become a toll road, but if it does become a toll road and a driver forgets to pay the toll, they get a letter in the mail, then they have the 30 days to pay it. And if they don't pay it, the toll provider, I guess the private entity, can send notice to the DMV. It doesn't look like there's a mechanism that you could cure that, and that your re-registration, when you come to register your vehicle, your renewal, could be held up. And I wasn't sure if that was the intent, and that a driver would then have to cure that at some point after they pay the private provider. And I was just trying to understand that because it seems like they may be stuck in a situation where they can't renew their registration.
Thank you, Michael Hillerby, on behalf of the City of Sparks, and Allison McCormick may be better able to answer this as a city attorney as well. All of the provisions in Section 1, the existing language in NRS 482 references 484B. That is the ability of local governments to issue infractions for non-moving violations, i.e. parking tickets. So it has the same provisions and the same cure provisions that are in existing law. So you can bring the receipt that you paid, other mechanisms to show. So it leaves it doesn't change any of that for the existing processes for any of the violations under 484B. Isn't it?
Chair, if I could have one follow-up, not a follow-up, or a whole new question. And then I just had a quick question about Section 30, subsection 2. I was just a little confused what the intent was. On one hand, if the private partner enters into any contracts, which I would assume for construction, it's open to competitive bidding. And I was a little confused why it was that the private partner that the public entity may choose to contract was not open to competitive bidding. There's the exclusion under subsection 2.
Thank you, Michael Hillerby. Thanks. That's a very good question. Thanks for pointing that out. Because the middle sections of the bill that have the specifics about how we would do the contract provide for a different kind of competitive bidding, a different kind of bidding process, because these contracts are going to be different as we ask vendors to submit creative ideas about how the financing piece would work. Those are likely to be very different, apple and oranges kinds of comparisons. So much like the Boulder City legislation, this lays out a specific process for the bidding for this particular project.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Assemblymember Dickman.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for being here, Mr. Mayor. Good to see you. So I have two questions, if I'm allowed. Go ahead. Okay. First question is a question that I've been asked by many people who have contacted me. How are we going to get people to La Posada? Because it's, in the city of Sparks, Pyramid is always jammed. from the North Valleys, what would you do? Come across Highland Parkway? I mean, it's gonna be hard to get traffic there, isn't it?
So Ed Lawson for the record. We are currently in negotiations with the Reno Sparks Indian Colony to put a road from Lemon Valley Drive to Pyramid Highway. RTC is working on that easement as we speak. A lot of it has to do with the lands bill at this point. If the lands bill goes, there's gonna be more property transferred to the tribe, so we will see. But I had a meeting with them last week. We have a MOU, I believe the first MOU ever done between a city and a federal tribe, that we agreed to provide a certain amount of conservation in the lands bill, and let them know that we're gonna adhere to our word. And we believe that if the lands bill passes, that we have a great possibility of making that happen.
Okay, thank you. And then my other question, in all the discussions I've had about this project and things I've heard, I've never asked and I've never been told, do we know how much the toll is going to cost? Is there a number out there?
Ed Lawson for the record, no, we don't know how much the road costs right now. I'll tell you where we are is, I just came off of being chairman of the Washoe County Regional Transportation Commission for 2.5 years. We have a road alignment in process that we should have the road alignment finished by September of this year. At that point, regardless if the lands bill passes or not, we can then negotiate with BLM to get right of way. We'll have a much better idea. We've also gotten some ideas that come from Southern Nevada as maybe the boring tool that they're using in Las Vegas might be a real option to make this road go under the mountain, and thus saving a lot of money and keeping the ability for wildlife to cross. In this road plan, we have a wildlife bridge in order to let the deer and antelope move across, because they do to the east more cross there.
Okay. So is there a minimum discussed cost? Do we know?
I would love to give you a number, but I would just be pulling it out of the air.
And your name for the record, Mayor.
Oh, sorry, Ed Lawson for the record. I would love to give you a number, but I would just be making it up.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Assemblymember Karas.
Thank you, Chair. I want to touch on logistics a little bit. I don't live up north. If I remember correctly, I-80 has 2 lanes in both directions. Is that correct? Okay, great. And how many lanes are you proposing on the toll road in each direction?
Ed Lawson for the record. We're proposing to make it look exactly like USA Parkway. 2 lanes on either side plus a divider in the middle where we would run all of our utilities. We have power, water, all the utilities already have expressed interest to be in this road to connect the 2 valleys together.
Thank you for that clarification. Now, if I remember correctly, you stated that currently on I-80, there's about 10,000 cars coming and going to the industrial site?
Ed Lawson for the record. No, what we were saying is that 10,000 cars on the new road, the North Road is what we call it, the North Road would result in 25 tons of carbon emissions being saved each day. So that takes them off of the I-80 corridor.
So this is a proposed 10,000, or are you seeing 10,000? What I'm trying to get at is, are you currently thinking there are 10,000 cars leaving the tech site now, or is that what you're proposing for future as development occurs?
Well, Ed Lawson for the record. Right now, we know that approximately 25,000 people from north of I-80 commute out there through that corridor. So we can extrapolate at 2 people a car, we should hit 10,000 cars pretty easily. Now, there's bus services, we're looking at rail service, we're looking at all kinds of different ways to put infrastructure out to Story County. But this road is so far the least expensive option of anything.
Thank you for answering.
And if I may, Chair, Assemblymember Karas, Michael Hillerby. And thank you for bringing that up. One of the pieces that we've talked about is this is not happening in a vacuum. We know work needs to be done on I-80. We're very fortunate the federal delegation was able to get about $300 million, if memory serves, through the Department of Transportation and discretionary grants. That grant agreement has been signed. That's for widening of I-80 from Vista Boulevard at the east end of Sparks out to USA Parkway, the entrance to the Tajarino Industrial Complex. That will take a long time, and that will help to address hopefully some of the congestion there. It still remains a single point of failure, and that remains a very busy road. In addition to the industrial complex, it's obviously heavily used by trucking, by people moving goods and commerce all around the country. I don't have those volume numbers. We could probably get those for you from NDOT. The other piece, as the mayor mentioned, the companies out there use a program called My Ride to Work, and there are large charter buses that meet in different places around the region, take people back and forth, and RTC Washos van pool has been very successful, and we've pulled, I couldn't give you the number, but probably hundreds, if not more, of thousands of daily trips off of the highway and into van pool and those buses. And we can try to get an accurate number for you on those.
I think your answers are plenty. Thank you so much for answering all my logistical questions.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Assemblymember Moore.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I do have a question in regards to why we're going the toll road route. I know that it was mentioned by the mayor that employers are willing to pay for the fast pass for their employees to be able to use the toll road. However, there was a report that was recently done showing that Nevada is one of the most expensive states in the country to own a vehicle just because of how much we pay in gas, insurance, and driving also takes wear and tear in your vehicle and maintenance. Have you considered any other options? I know you mentioned, it was mentioned that employers provide these big buses and you're working with RTC, but are we looking at other options in expanding that program or bringing light rail or other mass transportation options for folks?
Ed Lawson for the record. Light rail is an option that's currently being studied by the RTC. That, I don't know if it's gone out to bid or if it has, it's just been done recently. We'll expect some results on that in the future. There's another road, they call it the South Road, and obviously widening by 80. So we're looking at 4 different alternatives to get there. But the bulk of the people who work out there that live with us in Reno Sparks live in the north part of our city. So that's why it makes the most sense to do the North Road first. I think it's gonna be an outright nightmare to try and widen I-80 while we're still working out there. I don't know what that looks like. I hope that that's being planned well, but I haven't seen that. I know that 30% bid is due here in the next month or so. So I think that's pretty close.
Assemblymember Moore, Michael Hillerby. And the other reason to your question about why a toll road, there are literally no other options to finance it at this point. Again, as I mentioned, we know we can't come to the highway fund. There's not enough money, certainly not a general fund project. That's why the mayor has spent the last few years trying to look at other options. And as he just said, and we're continuing to pursue all of those through mass transit, light rail, buses, the van pool, other options, road widening. But in terms of why a toll road as a funding source, it's because there isn't another option at this point.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Assemblymember Gallant.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, good afternoon. So I'm from San Francisco, and I think the most boring job in the world is the people that have to paint the bridge, because as soon as they start and they get to the end, they have to start all over again. And it's just like that all the time. So there's maintenance that's required, and I keep hearing that there is not money to build the road. Have you guys thought about what you're gonna do down the road in order to maintain it?
Yeah, Ed Lawson for the record. The maintenance is a part of the toll road process. So that part it's incumbent on the private tier to keep the road working functionally, plowing it, making sure that there are no potholes, all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, who wants to pay a toll road to drive on a dirt road?
So, but the cap is 40 years of toll road, right, of charging. So how is it going to be maintained after you stop charging the toll after 40 years?
Yeah, Ed Lawson for the record. That would fall under the RTC Washoe County or Sparks, or all three, and the state. The state has told us flat out they don't want the road, so that's fine too. We'll figure that out in 40 years, who will pay for it at that time. Hopefully we'll have changed some tax laws.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Assemblymember Carter. Vice Chair Carter.
Thank you, Chair. My question's regarding prevailing wage. Are there any exceptions in this for the private side? And are we anticipating that, at what point does prevailing wage fall off? Like Assemblymember Gallant just brought up on the maintenance and stuff. You know, that privatizing that, I don't want to see a race to the bottom.
Let me answer that, Mike.
Thank you, Assemblymember Carter. Michael Hillerby. The bill specifically says that all prevailing wage requirements apply to the project. Once the life of the program is over, be it the full 40 years or something less, that road becomes an inventory with other public roads and is the same, under the same prevailing wage rules we're under now. If it's an RTC road, we let projects under NRS 338 and our own chapter, all prevailing wage. So it becomes it is a public road the entire life of the road. It's got a private partner, but it is a public road during the life of that contract and goes back into the public inventory, and those same rules apply.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members, additional questions? Okay, I've got a couple. So you discussed the efforts in the works to create an additional connector to access this proposed toll road, working with the tribe. You mentioned the lands bill potentially being involved. How would that connecting road be financed?
Ed Loss, for the record, can you tell me which road we're talking about? Are we talking about the one connecting from Lemon Drive to Pyramid Highway? Or are we talking about from La Posada to USA Parkway?
Yeah, the first one.
First one?
So, yeah, so my colleague asked about how are you going to get to the toll road? And so, and then you discussed that potential partnership with the tribe in order to build a connector. So how would that play out?
Ed Lawson, for the record, yes, it would be financed by the RTC and potentially Sparks if we have that annexed in at the time. But it would definitely be through the RTC. We wouldn't charge a toll to get to a toll. I mean, that doesn't make sense. So we're just talking about this. It's literally a 12-mile stretch of road that cuts the commute in half for a lot of people.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
ahead.
Michael Hillerby, I just add, again, this isn't happening in a vacuum. The regular transportation improvement planning process continues. RTC Washoe is the Metropolitan Planning Organization, our coordination with local partners, with NDOT. Regardless of the toll road or its future existence, we still need to do work on how do we move traffic in and out of a growing area. So there are still roads yet to come, roads under planning. So there's a lot of that. Come on, again, this is going to happen on its own and try to move all of that traffic over the infrastructure that as it sits there today.
Thank you for that. Going back to the issue of late fees, my read of the legislation is that there is currently no cap of those late fees in the bill itself, and that would essentially be left up to an agreement with within the public-private partnership. Is that correct?
Sorry, Michael Hillerby, Chair. Thank you. That is correct. That would be part of the negotiation process. And again, because the bill is enabling, any vote to actually enact the fee, fines, the contract itself will have to be taken by locally elected officials in Washoe County, be it the RTC board or someone else. So all of that will go through that vetting process and that public process just as the contract would.
Thank you. And then my last question, that was a good segue. So what happens next? You discussed in your presentation that this isn't giving the green light for the project to instantly start. So can you just give us a little bit of additional information? If this bill were to pass and it said effective upon passage and approval, what are the next steps that happen with the RTC and others from there.
Ed Lawson, for the record, we would then study do the environmental studies. We have, obviously, we'd have the alignment first, do the environmental studies, get the right-of-way from BLM. There's a lot of work to do. Road construction on this road probably wouldn't occur for 5 to 8 years. But we're in this point where if we don't do it in this session, we wait, now we're at 7 to 9 years. And we keep pushing the can down the road. We're at 40 years and we finally get a road built. So the idea for us is to get this legal, number one, and just for this particular road, we're not trying to do the whole state, so that we then can be approached by the different companies that want to do it. I've already been approached in my office by 3 companies that want to do this toll road and have provided, ancillary information. But since it's not legal, we can't justify spending these taxpayer dollars, and they're not, as a private business, going to spend any of their money to do a road that doesn't have an ability to be built.
All right, thank you for that. And again, I appreciate the core issue that you're bringing up, which is we do not have sufficient resources to fund the development and maintenance of transportation infrastructure in our state, and we have to do something about it. So, seeing no other questions from members at this time, thank you very much for your presentation. We will now move to testimony on Assembly Bill 61. We'll start with testimony in support. If anyone would like to provide testimony in support for AB 61 here in Carson City, please come forward, as well as Las Vegas, although it doesn't look like we have anyone joining us at this time. Whenever you're ready, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. Brett Scolari with Strategies 360, here on behalf of Neology, Inc., and in support of AB 61. Let me give a little introduction to Neology. Neology is a global technology company with manufacturing and operations facilities in North America, Latin America, Europe, and Asia Pacific. Neology partners with state and local transportation agencies to reimagine mobility by combining state-of-the-art tolling, automated vehicle identification and classification, data processing, and digital payment systems, all delivered with superior service. It is Neology's mission to help communities around the world solve transportation challenges, enhance mobility, increase sustainability, improve safety, and generate increased revenue. Neology does have experience working with local jurisdictions like Sparks to solve transportation challenges successfully with planning, construction, maintenance, and operating of tolling facilities. A few examples. Neology partnered on the first toll operations contract in the Austin, Texas region, collaborating with the Texas Department of Transportation Toll Operations Division, fostering public acceptance of new toll roads. Neology supported the North Carolina Turnpike Authority on their first toll road opening, which too garnered public support. Neology has also provided componentry and other systems working with several state transportation agencies where public skepticism and reservations about tolling existed. These included the Washington State Department of Transportation, State Road and Tollway Authority in Georgia, Central Texas Regional Mobility Authority, and the Golden Gate Bridge, Highway and Transportation District in California. These are examples where, despite initial local anxiety regarding tolling to fund local roadway construction and maintenance, public acceptance meet or exceeded projections, resulting in the expansion of the number of tolled facilities and improved regional mobility as a whole. In fact, the success in Texas led to the formation of additional regional mobility authorities for smaller counties like Cameron County, Contra Costa County, and Hidalgo County that traditionally did not have sufficient state funding to support local infrastructure needs. In conclusion, members of the committee, Sparks and Washoe RTC can have similar success for their transportation challenge they're facing with the I-80 corridor. Identical legislation was passed in 2011 as an option to solve a transportation challenge in Boulder City. As has been stated, this legislation is enabling only. A yes vote does not raise taxes or fees on the citizens of Northern Nevada, nor will it impact any general fund dollars. A yes vote and passes of this bill simply enables Sparks, in partnership with Washoe RTC, the option to move forward with this specific demonstration project. If they choose to move forward, the project will be subject to many more hurdles and a ton more scrutiny, including but not limited to alignment, finalization, environmental review, and importantly, the securing the financing structure through a public-private partnership to ensure taxpayers are not left responsible for uncovered build-out costs and maintenance. Appreciate you, Chair, appreciate the committee's consideration of this bill, and I offer Neology up as a resource to any members of the committee. Should they have any questions, please reach out. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Scolari. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Chris Thompson, KRISTHOMPSON. I just finished up 23 years working for Tahoe Reno Industrial Center in a variety of roles, including the last 14 years as the project manager of the park. Also during that time for 14 years, I served as the transaction coordinator and the infrastructure specialist for Lance Gilman, L. Lance Gilman Real Estate, working with Lance Gilman, and for the last few years with his son Donnie, who I'm still employed by. I was part of the negotiating team with all the companies that we had the major deals with in TRI over the last 11 years, and so I know these companies intimately. I'm here to testify in support of this bill. I think this bill is vital for the workers in Northern Nevada. We currently have 35,000 jobs in the park. As the mayor indicated, probably 85% of those workers live in the Reno Sparks area. And so if you can imagine for those 30,000 workers every day getting to their job, they are reliant on a 2-lane highway getting to their work and a 2-lane highway getting home from their work. There is no alternate route from TRI to Reno and Sparks because there's a bottleneck, there's a choke point between Patrick and Vista Boulevard. There's no dirt trails, there's nothing. And so if you're a worker, you're going home, you have to pick up a child from childcare, a babysitter, you have a doctor's appointment maybe late in the afternoon, and if there's an accident, that can stall you and prevent you from taking care of your family or your own health. We had a meeting with NDOT a few months ago and the Committee on on Road Safety at the state about the safety issues in there. The NDOT representative told us that in that safety corridor, there's an average of 2 accidents per week. And as the mayor indicated, I fully concur. Anytime there's an accident out there going either direction, it's a minimum 1 or 2 hour delay, but it can back up during rush hour to 5 or 6 hours. I also concur that the companies out there, there is a very high demand for employees, which is a good thing, right? The companies in the park, their payrolls, their pay rates are very high. Their entry pay is very high. I believe because of that competition, I fully concur, at least in my experience dealing with these folks, I fully concur that the vast majority of those companies, especially our big tech companies, Google, Microsoft, Tesla, Panasonic, and all the others out there, will either cover the passes or buy them for their workers, or they will up the pay to accomplish that. And last, there's a lot of commerce. There's a lot of revenue flow that goes from our park into Washoe County. Our payroll is about $1 billion a year in the park, and all the contractors and the contracts and the engineers and the trades and the part suppliers, all that money flows into Washoe County. And the more we can enable the workforce, which is the key to everything, the more we can help that workforce get to their jobs efficiently, and maybe even more workers out there, which are coming. We might be at 45,000 jobs within the next 10 years. The more we can do that, the more that will actually help Reno and Sparks and Washoe County. Thank you, members. Mr. Chairman, thank you, sir.
Thank you. If anyone else would like to provide testimony in support, please come forward. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Mike Draper. Excuse me, my name is Mike Draper. I'm a partner at Argentum Partners, and I'm here today on behalf of the Nevada Builders Alliance. The Nevada Builders Alliance is the largest statewide professional organization representing the construction and building industry, and we advocate on behalf of our nearly 1,200 member organizations to protect their interests and address the issues that affect builders and contractors in this state. We see this as a road, not just a road to TRI, but a road to more jobs, a road to economic diversification, a road to a better quality of life, and really a road to leading our state to the future that we continue to talk about. As has been mentioned, and without being redundant, there's very limited access. It's one of the biggest challenges for the companies at TRI. And furthermore, for our members, there's a lot of opportunity. There's jobs that can be filled. There's people that won't go and apply for those jobs because they can't get out there. There's more opportunity for building and development in a smart way in areas that could benefit from it greatly. And our members strongly support AB 61 in any effort. And as the mayor said, there's a number of efforts. I've been able to be part of a lot of those conversations. Every single option is being explored, but we need as many arrows in the quiver as we possibly can to get this done. We appreciate the mayor's leadership, the city of Sparks' leadership, and RTC's leadership, and strongly encourage the support of AB 61. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, my name is Helen Foley, and I'm representing Story County. The whole idea of TRI almost seems impossible if you go back 15, 20 years. Who would ever have imagined that we would receive and have in our Northern Nevada area fantastic jobs and opportunities because of TRI? But with that has come logjam. We must have alternatives to transportation, and so we look forward to working with the mayor of Sparks, with the RTC of Washoe County, certainly with TRI to find the very best solutions. We're happy that this has been presented to you, and we look forward to much further discussion and hopefully passage of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, honored committee, assembly members. My name is Heather Westland Gross. I lead corporate attraction efforts for Northern Nevada. I have been in this position for about 2 years, and I'm speaking in support of AB 61. Infrastructure, transportation, these are key business development assets for efficiency, cost, and future competitiveness. Having worked in expanding markets in the Chicago-Milwaukee corridor, growing up in New Jersey, along I-80 into New York City. These are mature markets that have heavy population that have had to make a lot of different options for enhancing their transportation access into major employment centers. The difference between the Midwest, the Northeast, Southeast, and ours is we're an emerging market. We're one of the fastest growing employment centers in the United States. And so if we're going to remain competitive and be able to capture future projects, we need to be able to make decisions to enhance transportation assets in the region. The Tri-Center has room for growth. There are several hundred acres that can anticipate new manufacturing and continue to grow this high employment center. Not just Panasonic and Tesla that will add 3,000 jobs, but Redwood Materials and other advanced recyclers, lithium loop companies that are being routed into this area. And so if we can create access points from high-density areas in residential areas in Northern Nevada to the Tri-Center to pay towards future transportation assets to make us more competitive, I think that will help us to grow. And I think that this is this part of the state is an asset for the entire state for adding employment and adding competitive bids for new projects. And we're seeing so many large projects being advanced into the area for interest in clean energy and advanced manufacturing that we need to think about the future. And I think there's difficult choices to make, but I certainly think if we act now and work towards improvement of our transportation assets, that will just make us that much more competitive. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to come forward and testify in support of Assembly Bill 61? Seeing nobody coming forward in Carson City or Las Vegas at this time, AVH, would anyone like to provide testimony in support by phone?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 61, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, if you wish to testify in support, please press star 9. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. With that, we'll move to testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 61. Anyone wishing to provide opposition testimony, please come forward. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair Watts, members of the committee. For the record, I'm Paul Enos, P-A-U-L-E-N-O-S. I'm the CEO of the Nevada Trucking Association, and we're here today in opposition to Assembly Bill 61, not because of the road itself. We like this idea, and we have nothing but good things to say about the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center and the jobs it is providing. We think it's fantastic. At first glance, this looks great, right? It's new infrastructure. We're not tolling an existing road. There's a free alternative route. And really, the reality is it's unlikely to see a lot of truck traffic. You know, Interstate 80, we have them look every year at where the freight bottlenecks occur, and that section of Interstate 80 from the end of Sparks to USA Parkway, number 237 on a list. We only publicize the first 100. So it's pretty far down on the list. With at peak congestion, the average truck speed's 54.3 miles an hour. And that's predicated on an average truck speed or adequate truck speed of 55 miles. So just shows you it's really not that big on the list in terms of freight bottlenecks. What our rub is with these public-private partnerships. These are very sophisticated folks that are negotiating with our friends in local governments. And a lot of times, the local government or the state ends up holding the bag when these things go out of business. And we have seen this happen so many places across the country. Indiana Toll Road started in 2006, went bankrupt in 2014. They ended up doubling the tolls, and then the state got stuck with that project and how to fund the maintenance moving forward. So I have submitted some testimony for the record, because I don't want to go over my 2 minutes time, but I just want to say one piece. There was a question asked about collections and about how these things are collected. When it's the state that's collecting it, even the IRS, there's political considerations, in terms of how hard you're going to go after folks. I really don't love the idea of a workforce that's very important, but these are working folks that are going to be using this road. We're now putting them under the auspices of being sent to collections by these public-private partnerships, the entity that's created for this. I'm happy to work with the proponents of the bill to come up with some adequate protections. And with that said, I'll just let my comments stand and my testimony my opposition that I submitted to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, please do reach out to the sponsor. We'll go on to the next person.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Matthew Wilkie, M-A-T-T-H-E-W, W-I-L-K-I-E for the record. And I do not represent an organization or a group. I'm here in my own private capacity as a citizen. I would like to respectfully debunk some of the things said by Mayor Lawson. He said that, quote, "the people causing this mess will be paying for it." I respectfully disagree. Unless you put in an amendment in a bill that these companies pay for it, we as the people that work, play, and live here are going to have to pay for it. So unless there is an amendment that says that these companies are going to be paying for it, we are going to be paying for it at the end of the day. Another thing I heard was snow and horses as a reason for this. I will tell you, unless this road is going to be completely covered, it is going to still see snow, it is going to still see horses, and the time it's going to take to go through a toll road is not going to be saving you any time. So I'm concerned about, unless it's completely covered, it's still going to snow, you're still going to have horses, we're still going to have to take the time to stop and pay this toll. So with these reasons, I don't see it actually helping the people that it's going to be having to pay for, the people that are going to have to be paid for it at the end of the day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Next, and if anyone else is planning to testify in opposition, please come forward. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Watson, members of the committee. My name is Olivia Tanager. I'm the director of the Sierra Club's Toyabe chapter. We are the largest grassroots environmental organization in the state, representing over 40,000 members and supporters statewide. I'll echo the previous comments of the other folks in opposition. We have a lot of concerns over this proposal for the reasons previously stated. We believe that working class people are going to be holding the bag. And so I heard today, that this is the only solution. And so noodle on this. These industries in the trick are working on huge tax abatements. They are not paying a whole lot of taxes into the state. And so we're going to continuously have this problem where the infrastructure doesn't match the demand. And so we need to be looking at creative solutions for funding options like public transportation that is easier for working class people and more sustainable for our planet and communities. And we're not going to get there if we continue to let businesses have a free ride and then expect working class people to pick up the bag and have to pay these fees on the toll roads. I know that we heard today that businesses are perhaps going to give people a pass to pay for the toll roads, and wouldn't it be great if instead they just paid into a fund that went towards public transportation instead? So I appreciate your consideration, but we are strongly in opposition of this proposal as it stands. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing nobody else coming forward at this time, AVH, does anyone wish to provide testimony in opposition to AB 61 by phone?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 61, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Hello. I am opposed to it just for the fact of traveling through that area, and that's all I got.
Excuse me, can you please provide your name for the record?
Cody Mudafidis.
And can you spell that for us, please?
KODY MOUTAFIDIS.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chair, we have no more callers choosing to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you. With that, we'll move to testimony in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 61. If anyone would like to testify neutral. Seeing nobody coming forward, AVH, do we have anyone wishing to provide neutral testimony by phone?
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 61, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you. Would the presenters like to make any closing remarks? All right, thank you. Appreciate that, and with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 61. And I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 84, which revises provisions relating to county roads. Welcome to the Committee on Growth and Infrastructure, Assemblymember Koenig.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Greg Koenig, Koenig. I represent Assembly District 38. With me today, I have Joseph Sanford, who is the legal counsel for Churchill County, and Gary Fowkes, who is the, let me make sure I get his title right, the supervisor, the road supervisor for Churchill County. Quick, interesting little fact is, last session, Joe Sanford here sat opposite me leading the opposition on one of my bills. So it's much nicer to have him here sitting next to me and supported my bill. So it's a good start to begin with. So as most of you know, but maybe not all of you, prior to being in the assembly, I was a county commissioner. And as a county commissioner, we met monthly with the road department and was updated on road projects. And this is when I first became aware of this situation. So right now, we have a law that limits the county from doing any project that's over $250,000. This was put into effect about 15 years ago. So 15 years ago, $215,000 could do quite a bit. Today, $250,000 can only pave about 1,200 feet of road. So any job in our county that is more than 1,200 feet, we're not allowed to do. I say we because it's my county still, I feel, but they're not allowed to do that job. So if this isn't ever updated, say for another 20 years, they can do 3 potholes and call it good. I mean, this number has never changed. So one of the things we want to do with AB 84 is to apply what's called the Highway Construction Index to that original $250,000 and update it to a dollar amount today that equals what the $250,000 was 15 years ago. It updates that number. I know the intent of the law was so that government entities, the county, Churchill County, isn't taking jobs away from private contractors. And I think that is very important, and I want to maintain the intent of that law. So to put the protection into this law, we're requiring the county to put a job out to bid 2 separate times. And if nobody bids on the job at that point, then it allows the county to go ahead and do that job. But we're giving private contractors 2 chances to bid on that job. And if they bid on it, then they're the ones that get to do that. So the goal isn't to take jobs away from public contractors. The goal is to maintain the roads in Churchill County and other rural counties also. This mostly would apply to rurals, but it's going to let them maintain their roads by still allowing the private sector to bid on jobs that they want. I'm going to turn the time over to Mr. Sanford. I was going to say Sanchez, and I go, that's not right. Sanford, to kind of go into maybe a little more nuts and bolts and give some examples of some things, but we'll turn the time over to him.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to start by thanking Assembly Person Koenig, as well as the Assembly Member Koenig, as well as the committee for hearing this bill. There are 2 main portions of this bill. I'll start with the first, which is identified in Part 3, which allows the Board of Highway Commissioners to put out to bid any project, and if they do not receive a bid 2 times successively, then they can perform that work with their own personnel and their own equipment. I know that doesn't seem like a problem to some of the larger jurisdictions. They put out these projects, they get 10, 15 bids. But in our jurisdiction, a lot of rural jurisdictions, that is a big issue. I'll give you an example. Churchill County itself hasn't done some recently, but in the last 3 years, the city of Fallon has put out projects 4 times that meet these qualifications. One was put out August 4th of 2022 to do Sherman and Broadway Street. That project was $3.3 million. It received 1 bid. 2 weeks later, a project to complete A Street was put out, estimated at $1.9 million. No bids were received. About a month later than that, the city of Fallon consolidated A Street with another road project that had not previously been planned on, and put that out to bid to get a project of $3.2 million, and that received 2 bids. 1 year later, Court Street was put out to bid for an estimated $1.4 million. Again, no bids were received. And so that is why we have put this language in, and what would be beneficial to the counties as well as other rural jurisdictions is when those situations occur, they can put it out again and at least have an option to move forward to protect those roads. The second portion of the bill, as discussed by Assemblymember Koenig, is an inflation adjuster for the exception. This is only applicable to rural counties, populations of less than 52,000, and it authorizes the county road department, its employees, once they have a definite project put together, as well as have confirmed the price and cost of all of its employees, to do project works up to $250,000 now. This provides a percentage adjustment based off the National Highway Construction Index to today's rate. From 2011 until today's rate, that would be approximately $547,570. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise,
You'll probably ask questions at the end.
our road supervisor will give you some other examples.
Gary Fowkes, GaryFowkes. We do have some concerns that we have a few jobs coming out in the next couple of years, and one of them falls right in line with that $1 million, right at the $1 million mark, whether we're gonna get bids on it or not. So that, just keep that in mind. And then as far as the inflation part of it, in 2016, we were given $70.50 for a ton of asphalt. In 2025, we give $119 for a ton of asphalt. So, I mean, I know it's oil, oil is very volatile, but everything's going that way. Everything's gone up. So, that's it. Thanks.
At this point, Chair, if it's okay with you, I'd open it up for questions.
All right, thank you for your presentation. We do have some questions. We are going to start first with Vice Chair Carter.
My question has to do with labor standards. If it does go in-house, is there going to be prevailing wage and, standards maintained for the workers that do work on the project, even though it's in-house?
So if the project is completed by the county's own.
Your name again for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. Joseph Sanford for the record. If the project is retained within and performed by the county, it will be performed by county staff at their regular rate. So it would not go out to a prevailing wage rate, it'll be at the rate that they are employed at.
I believe there was something in there, and I forget the exact term, about hiring day laborers or a workforce, and so.
Again, this is Joe Sanford for the record. If there is a need to go out and get day labor or something like that, I've spoken with our road supervisor. The first place we'll be looking is the union hall to try and get labor at union rate. Our issue is whether we can get enough labor in that situation, but that is our intention.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Assemblymember Yorick.
Thank you, Chair. This is an interesting dilemma, as I understand it. And I'm curious, like the problem that we're trying to solve, what happens if we don't try to solve this issue through legislation like this? So, and I guess I'll preface it to make sure I understand the dilemma correctly, is that right now, currently at jobs that are valued at less than $250,000, the county is prohibited from doing. You have to ship it out to somebody else. And these jobs are of little value to private contractors that don't want to do the job. And so if private contractors don't want to do the job and the county can't do the job, what happens to these projects?
They just don't get done.
Your name?
Gary Fowkes. Nobody can do them. So I don't know what the fix is.
Thanks for the follow-up, Chair. And I heard a couple of examples that you've given already, the 250, this indexed inflationary index number that we would tie to, which, by the way, I'm a huge fan of, as opposed to coming back every session or session after session trying to update real dollars. But it sounds like maybe even that inflationary index might put you still, I think you said it was like 500, it was less than $600,000, and you're getting bids or projects estimated over $1 million that you're not getting people bid on. Do you feel that this threshold or this index number is sufficient to attract the business, to bring people in to do what the old bill was attempting to do, and that is, let's not let all of our government employees take up all the jobs and do all the work. Let's share the love, but still get people to come in and do that.
Again, Joe Sanford for the record. I believe this number gets most of our maintenance projects, which is largely what is being done by our road department now, is chip seal, maintenance type projects. The second portion, the first portion of the bill that gives us an option if we go out to bid 2 times is really important, because right now, as it was presented, there is no answer. We just keep putting it out and hoping that it comes up. And so having both of these working together is critical to getting our roads prepared or maintained properly.
All right, thank you. Next, we're going to go to Assemblymember Karas.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. My question is, how prevalent is it that you're having jobs go without being bid on? Because it seems to me that the laborers up north would want this work. So how often are you seeing that you've had jobs you just, as he stated, could not do?
So Greg Koenig for the record. So at this point, the county hasn't put jobs out for bid. We're looking to the future where they have some big jobs that need to be done that are going to need to be put out for bid. But the only town in Churchill County is Fallon. And so we know that they, in the last couple of years, are the ones who put their jobs out for bid at those numbers, those high numbers, and did not receive any bids. So we're worried that when Churchill County goes to put these projects that they had that they know are going to be above that dollar amount, that they're not going to receive bids either. So we can't say we've had 14 bids in the last 2 years that didn't, or 14 jobs that didn't receive bids. That isn't the case.
I just want to get the wording on this right. Are you telling me that this whole bill is about a supposition that you won't get bids because you've never put out bids before?
Greg Koenig for the record. I don't believe that it's a supposition. We have actual jobs that were bid in the city, in the county, that did not receive bids. So we think that that's a high possibility that if within the last couple of years, two of the 4 jobs did not receive a single bid, I think that's a little more than just a random supposition.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Assemblymember Gallant.
Thank you, Chair. I'm curious, have you guys taken a look at, well, let me back up. It's important that we balance everybody's needs, right? So it seems like this current legislation was to make sure that we share the love, as my colleague stated down there. But what about the safety and the quality of life for everybody that's living in the community? Have you guys taken a look at what the, what's the, I guess, level of safety or lack thereof with not being able to maintain these roads for the residents of Churchill, right? It's in Fallon in these areas.
Yes, Greg Koenig for the record. I really think that is the genesis behind this, is we want to maintain our roads to a certain level that our citizens, our constituents, the people that drive on those roads are safe. Just to kind of say it again, we have no intent of taking away jobs from private contractors. We're not only going to put it out to bid once, we're going to put it out to bid twice. And if they bid on it, they get to do the work. If for some reasons that we think might happen, and hopefully it never does, if they don't bid on it, then that lets us maintain our roads. So our number one reason for doing this is maintaining the roads. It's not who's gonna do the work. We're happy to let private contractors come and do the work. We're giving them two chances. We just wanna make sure that if they don't, that we have recourse, because right now we don't have recourse. We wanna have the recourse to be able to maintain the roads.
So it seems like out of the two or the four bids you talked about, they were in that million up range. And so my concern, first of all, my husband's a contractor, and so I don't understand like not like taking up work. Like he's like, when it comes, you just take it. So I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around that right now, but I'm sure it happens. So what happens with those jobs that are over that $500,000, but you need to get them done and none of the bids are coming through? I'm worried that the $500,000 is not enough.
Greg Koenig, for the record, we wanted to put a number that we didn't want to go higher than the $250,000 that was given the county 15 years ago. This new number is percentage-wise exact same. It's $250,000 in today's amount. So if it's a $750,000, if it's up to $500,000, the county can do that on their own. If it's a $750,000 job, we put it out to bid twice. If someone bids on it, they do it. If they don't, then the county gets to do that. Same with a $2 million job. We'll put it out to bid twice. If anybody bids on it, they get to do the work. If nobody bids on it, we still get to maintain our roads and the county gets to do the work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Assemblymember Moore.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I do have a question. I'm not too familiar with the bidding process and how you make sure that these bids are out there so people are aware. My dad is a small business owner, so he does get a lot of business, and just like my colleague said, there's not one job that he doesn't jump on. So if you can share with us, what does that bidding process look like? How do you make sure that people know these bids are available?
Thank you, Joe Sanford, for the record. So the process will start with defining what the project is going to be. We go out and get an estimate. Churchill County isn't large enough to have its own engineer, and so we will get a third party to provide an estimate of how much the job is going to cost. Once we have that estimate, we will go to our public meeting of the Board of Highway Commissioners and decide to confirm that we can put this out to bid, that we would pay for it if we did receive bids. Then we will put it in the newspaper as well as post it on our website for a period of weeks. And then, once we've received, hopefully, bids, we will go to our county commission and approve it then. If we do not receive bids, which would happen, then we would go out again under the same process with the same newspaper posting and the same posting on our website to get information again. Thank you.
And if I may, Greg Koenig, for the record, one of the concerns that we've heard was they felt that the county would potentially put out super low bids so that, super low amounts, and so that it wouldn't make it, it wouldn't make it financially viable for someone to come in and do that. But like Joe said, the county is small enough, they don't have their own engineer. The county isn't the one that's gonna be producing that bid. We're gonna have to hire out a third-party engineer to come out with that bid. So I think that's a safeguard, that the county isn't undercutting the numbers to make it not profitable for these, these other general contractors. This bid is going to come from an outside third-party person.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Assemblymember Brand May.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Two things from me. So first, there's a lot of math in here, right? Divide the difference calculated pursuant to the paragraph A by the amount of the highway construction index, and then add 1 to the quotient calculated pursuant to paragraph B, and then multiply the sum by paragraph C, right? So it's clear as mud. But thank you for that. I want to first clarify that we're talking about a county whose population is 52,000 or less, I got a head nod, so that's good, we're starting that. So this is specific to a county whose population is 52,000 people or less. Thank you for the head nods and the clarification there. I just want to follow up on the day labor piece, which is in section 1, paragraph 3. If the project may be performed by county employees or through the employment of day labor under the supervision of the board, right? Day labor. For me, day labor is not union hall labor. And so I would love for you to clarify, again, really for the record, how, if the county were to undertake a project like this, how would you employ the personnel to facilitate the construction of that project?
Greg Koenig for the record. You can thank LCB for the math equation. I think we probably could have done that maybe a little bit easier. But I just talked to the county road supervisor, and we would be willing to remove the day labor part out of there and just use county employees if that makes you a little more comfortable. Max, I don't know if that would make you more comfortable if we took away the day labor part and just did it with county employees. You can get with me and let me know.
Thank you. So please be sure to use folks' last names in the committee. Members, any additional questions? Assemblymember Backus.
Thank you so much, Chair. And I think along those same lines, I was taking a look at, even though the county does not require to have a contractor's license, over the last couple legislative sessions, we've really been working, or the Nevada State Contractors Board has been working to clarify who a contractor is that would require a license. And it was in part moving away from like the use of day laborers because they weren't licensed individuals and they also didn't constitute an employee of that person hiring them. And I was trying to wrap my brain around how this would work for the county if they were hiring individuals that were outside. But if you took it out, that would make probably that a lot easier too. So that was just something I was thinking about.
Thank you. Members, additional questions? So I have a couple just to make sure we've got a clear record. So really there's two provisions of this bill, right? One uses the very complicated math formula and essentially sets a project cost range where you don't have to put the project out to bid, and you can go take this alternative pathway, maybe with day labor, maybe with county workers. Currently, both options are in the bill as written. So that's piece one. Piece two, the project is above that amount, you have to put it out to bid twice. And if it receives no bids both times, then that project can now go down that alternative pathway to be constructed by, as the bill's currently written, county staff or day labor. Is that correct?
Greg Koenig for the record. You very succinct and you nailed it.
Great, thank you. And then you talked, and again, I think it is helpful. You're mentioning there's an incorporated city within Churchill County. That's Fallon. And so you're saying that while the county itself has not experienced these issues, the city has had some, and you expect that to occur in the future for the county. You talked about 4 projects, and as I was still getting oriented with the bill, I didn't get all the details down. So how many of those 4 projects that you mentioned received no bids?
2 of the 4 projects received no bids. One of the successful bids was a rebid of it a second time consolidated with another project.
Okay. So essentially 2 projects got no bids. 1 project didn't get a bid initially, but was combined with another project and then got bid. For the 2 projects that got no bids, how many times were they put out to bid?
Just once, as they were originally designed. So just one time as originally designed, and then there was Joe Sanford for the record, I'm sorry. there was an A Street project that received no bids and a Court Street project that received no bids. The A Street project was bid again, but combined with another street.
Thank you. So the last question then. So have there been any projects that have been put out to bid twice and received no bids?
No, sorry, Joe Sanford for the record, not to my knowledge.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other questions from our members, we appreciate the presentation. We'll now move on to testimony. We'll begin with testimony in support of Assembly Bill 84. Anyone wishing to provide testimony in support, either here in Carson City or in Las Vegas, please come forward. Whenever you're ready, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Trevor Parrish, and I'm the Manager of Government Affairs for the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber is in support of AB 84 as it provides greater flexibility to rural counties to maintain vital infrastructure, which is important to both residents and businesses. Increasing the monetary threshold by which these counties are governed is a vital step to reducing obstacles on crucial road projects. The Chamber would like to thank the bill sponsor for bringing forward this bill, and we thank the committee for your time and consideration of this measure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Seeing nobody else coming forward in Carson City or Las Vegas, AVH, would anyone like to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 84 by phone?
Testify in support of Assembly Bill 84, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, if you wish to testify in support, please press star 9 now. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 84. Looks like we have a few people, so just again as a housekeeping note, please make sure after you've finished to turn off your microphone and open up the seat for somebody else. As soon as there's an open seat, somebody can come in and fill that in so we keep things moving. So whoever would like to go first, please proceed when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Craig Madole. It's M-A-D-O-L-E. I'm the CEO of the Nevada chapter of the Associated General Contractors. We're here today because in 2013, AGC went to Senator Menendo at the time and asked that he open this section of law and create the law as currently written, and this bill's changing or proposing to amend that. The purpose we went to it, that was the first time in over 50 years this law had even been open, this county road section. What we saw at the time was these small county road departments doing very complex, significant construction projects, including building a bridge in Churchill County, that we were trying to prevent. And everything they're really proposing today would frankly undo the law that we worked hard to pass in 2013. I think it's worth noting that while they're suggesting that they need to change the amount of expenses for inflationary concerns, in 2016, the voters of Churchill County and all these rural counties that would be affected by this law were given the opportunity to adjust their revenue by allowing their gas tax to be increased for inflation. Those voters in all of these counties rejected that proposal. To your point earlier, Chair, I believe that this is an issue of lack of revenue, not increased expenses. Had they passed that bill in 2016, forecast at the time would have created an additional $10 million of revenue for Churchill County to complete these projects using contractors. And additionally, we just fundamentally, not only has there not been a project that has not been bid when put out twice in the county in the last however many years they discussed, we would just are fundamentally proposed from any county self-performing a project of magnitude of several $1 million. That's dozens of workers, that's a lot of equipment, that's a lot of material. We just don't believe that the counties are well suited to perform those complex jobs. But I'm also joined here by Bart Hyatt. He is the president of A&K Earth Movers located in Fallon, Nevada. And he performed some of these projects that they were discussing today. And frankly, he's got, I believe, the only hot plant in the county. So all the materials they would have to buy and everything would have to come from him. He's got a couple hundred employees there in Fallon. And I'd like for him to be able to talk to his experience on how many projects don't go bid by his firm or another.
Good afternoon. My name's Kelly Bart Hyatt. I'm the president and owner of A&K Earth Movers. My dad started the company in 1957, and he started it in Churchill County. And it's been in business for 68 years at this time. And we bid on all the projects, and we do that at all on every project that comes along. There hasn't been a bid that the county's put out that I'm aware of recently in the last several years, but we've always put a bid on all those projects. Many other contractors in the Reno area and Carson City has also bid on some of that work. The bids that they were talking about on the city project, A&K did most all those works. There was one job that we didn't bid on it. And we had called the city and told the city that job can't be done because you can't get the materials with the timeline to get it done before winter. And they kept saying, oh yeah, you can, you can. We told them you can't. There are special requirements in Churchill County for sewer manholes. They have to be pre-made and prefabbed just so they don't deteriorate under less than 10 years. And what happened is they went ahead and did another bid, which we didn't bid on it because we told them. And I called and told them that you guys don't have a time frame to get the job done. You won't get it done by anybody this year. And they said, we have to put it out. It has to be done this year. I said, if you will change the specifications and let us do the job in the spring, we will bid on it. And we'll undoubtedly use, or the low bidder, we're right there in town. We also have an office in Reno. And we didn't bid it. A company that bid it out of California, Hat Creek, California, bid the job. They were the only bidder. The city awarded them the job. And 2 or 3 weeks later, the city changed the schedule and let them complete the job the next year. And I called the mayor and I said, you guys made a big mistake here. We would have bid on it. We would have saved the taxpayers $250,000. And he goes, well, I don't think you understand. You understand. So I called the city council people and I told them, and they called me and asked the questions and what had happened. I said, there was some miscommunication because you couldn't do the job in the time frame, and the penalties every day that you didn't get it complete would have taken away from any profit. So you would have had to put a bunch of penalty in the project because we knew the parts weren't available, and every contractor that didn't bid before knew the parts wouldn't be available until probably the spring of the year. And A&K Earth Movers has been in business, like I say, in Fallon for 68 years. I've worked there since 1973, and every single job that comes up, we bid on it, whether it's Churchill City. And if there's a problem with the plans, we notify the county or the city before it goes to bid and tell them there's a problem with the plans. There's something wrong, you need to fix it, because it's gonna leave the county and the taxpayers up to litigation if they don't have the plan sitting right. Or if the schedule doesn't work, you try to explain what will work. And that's what I'm here to be against this, because the contractors need to do the work. The city doesn't have any equipment to do a project that they didn't get. They don't have manpower nor the equipment. A&K bought $2 million worth of paving equipment this last year that's up to speed and got the current specifications to make smooth roads. And you have to have that kind of equipment. You can't take old equipment that the county has that they bought for the years to do some of their maintenance project. That's what that equipment's for. It's not to build new projects. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you very much for your remarks. And I do appreciate the comments as well about funding for our roadways. It is a recurring theme across many different pieces of legislation and presentations. And so I'll always take the opportunity to highlight it for our members because it's a critical issue. And by biennium that we wait to address some of these structural issues, the worse all of the things that we're hearing about are going to become. So thank you for your remarks. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair. My name is Alex Noriega, representing the Nevada State AFL-CIO. I'm the Communications Director, standing in solidarity with 150,000 union members that we represent, and we strongly oppose this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Tom Morley, representing Laborers Local 169, Laborers Local 872, Laborers District Council, and Teamsters Local 631. I'd like to introduce Eloy Hara, who runs Laborers Local 169 up in Reno.
Yeah, my name is Eloy Hara, business manager of the Laborers Local 169 in Northern Nevada. So we strongly oppose this bill as it sits, as a whole. So it would, you know, you heard it from a contractor that knows the area. I'm not going to speak to the area. We're in Reno, but I think we need to hear from the experts, from the people. And it sounds like to me the way the bids were set up, I mean, it sounds like the bids were set up to fail. So they weren't designed to succeed and get a proper bid in time. So, and that's the bids that bid last year. That's what I'm talking about. So, thank you.
Thank you.
For the record, my name is Mark Ellis with Communication Workers of America Local 9413. On behalf of the workers of Churchill Communications, we oppose this bill.
Thank you. Short, sweet, and to the point. I appreciate that.
Good afternoon, committee. For the record, my name is Wendy Colborn. I'm the Chief of Staff for the Northern Nevada Building and Construction Trades Council. And as you heard from AGC, our contractors have issues with this, and so do our skilled tradespeople up here in Northern Nevada. These are not jobs that just anybody can do. We want to make sure our roadways are safe, and we don't generally provide day labor out of our union halls. We are happy to work with any contractor who's interested in becoming signatory, and happy to provide that skilled labor through a proper bidding, procedure. But this isn't that, and we are in opposition to the bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Dan Musgrove on behalf of Strategy 360 and the District Council of Iron Workers, and that's Local 118 in Reno, Local 416 and 433 in Las Vegas. I echo the same comments of all my colleagues. These are tax dollars, and these public investment in these projects deserve the most skilled and the most trained craftspeople. And so we stand in opposition to the bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dylan Gallagher for the record, District Representative for Operating Engineers for Northern Nevada. Operating engineers stand in opposition of this for all the reasons that have been laid out. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing nobody else coming forward to provide testimony in opposition at this time, AVH, do we have anyone wishing to provide testimony in opposition to AB 84 by phone?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 84, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, if you wish to testify in opposition, please press star 9.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Clarissa Principe, and I am a union member of TWU Local 577. I strongly urge the committee to oppose Assembly Bill 84.
Thank you. Could you could you spell your last name for the record for us?
Yes, Principe.
Thank you very much for your comments. AVH,
You're welcome. Thank you.
Next caller, please.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Joseph Graham, Joseph Graham. I'm a chief steward for CWA 9413. I strongly urge the committee to oppose AB 84. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the committee. Russ James, Nevada AFL-CIO. For all the reasons stated, let me spell RUSSJAMES, even though it's pretty simple. For all the reasons stated, opposed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Watson, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Dave Christensen, CHRISTENSON, and I'm a union member of Smart TD, Local 1043, and I'm asking the committee to oppose AB 84.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Robert Sumlin, SUMLIN, and I'm a member of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, Local Lodge, Sin City 711, Las Vegas, Nevada. We urge the committee to strongly oppose AB 84. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Tamura Jameson, and I am a union member as well as a business representative for Teamsters Local 14 here in Las Vegas. I strongly urge the committee to oppose Assembly Bill 84.
Thank you. And can you spell your name for the record for us, please?
JAMISON.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Clarence McCarthy. For the record, CLARENCEMC, capital CARTHY. For the record, I urge the committee to strongly oppose AB 84. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Charles Zemp. That's ZEMP. I'm a member of the Bricklayers International Union, Local 13, Nevada, and I urge the committee to oppose Assembly Bill 84. Thank you and have a good afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Chair, there are no more callers choosing to testify in opposition at this time.
All right, thank you. With that, we will move on to testimony in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 84. If anyone would like to testify neutral, please come forward. Seeing none. AVH, can we see if anyone would like to provide testimony in neutral on AB 84 by phone?
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 84, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you. Would the sponsor like to make any closing remarks?
Thank you, Chair. Greg Koenig for the record. My high school debate experience kicked in and I took down all the notes and was going to debate or rebut every single one of their things, but that's not the point. The point is we just want our roads taken care of. We wanted to raise the amount to a number that's fair. I mean, with that number, I mean, you hear we don't trust county doing big projects. Well, this number isn't going to let us build freeways and bridges. It's going to let us chip seal a road to make it so that people can drive on it without potholes. This is a number that just lets us maintain our roads. My goal is to maintain the roads in Churchill County. I am completely happy if all these people that hate this bill bid on every single time that we put it out there and the work gets done. We're letting them have the first and second chance. So if it's so important to them, let them bid. And if they do, the work gets done. My county has good roads. I'm happy with that. We're not trying to take away their jobs, what they're trying to say. We're happy to let them do it. We just want it to get done. And that's the genesis behind this bill, is to maintain the roads in rural Nevada and in Churchill County. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblymember Koenig. Congratulations on uniting labor and management. And we do appreciate the issues that you're bringing forward and working to address. So I do ask that folks that do have opposition to engage with the sponsor and see if there's anything that might be able to be worked out. So with that, I will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 84. That'll bring us to our last item on the agenda today, which is public comment. Would anyone like to provide public comment either here in Carson City or in Las Vegas? Seeing no one coming forward. AVH, would anyone like to provide public comment by phone?
If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of committee. For the record, my name is Evelyn Pacheco, EVELYN PHCHECO, and I'm an Army veteran, and I am a union member of 525, Local 525, and I strongly urge the committee to oppose AB 84. And thank you for your time.
Chair, we have no more callers choosing to provide public comment at this time.
All right, thank you. Members, that concludes our business for today. Our next meeting, to be determined. Our meeting that would normally be held on Thursday, February 27th, has been canceled. We're waiting for the receipt of some additional bills. As soon as we have our workload in order, we'll get back to it. So thank you all for your time and attention. This meeting's adjourned.